Saltburn is the new big movie sensation, similar to Everything Everywhere All at Once or Call Me By Your Name, but unlike those movies, this one is actually highly divisive, which I think actually boosted its popularity, because going into a movie knowing that you will probably either love it or hate it is exciting. Also, this movie was literally made with all of the film trends popular right now: 3:4 aspect ratio, nostalgic indie rock music, grainy cinematography, constant symmetry in the shot composition, Jacob Elordi, and most importantly, Eat the Rich. A genre of film so consistently vapid and lazy, and yet praised immensely, amassing an insane cult following every single time there's a new installment. We saw it last year with The Menu, and we see it in 2023 with Saltburn. Now, I wouldn't say that this film is anywhere as pretentious and goofy as The Menu, but I see it falling victim to the exact same problems. Unfortunately, there aren't that many good aspects of this movie, so let's get into that. The cinematography is good. Not great, because more often than not, it seems as though it doesn't know what it wants to communicate as far as character emotions go, but yes, the movie looks nice, and it is very aware of that. The acting is pretty impressive for the most part. I think Jacob Elordi did a great job, especially from just how far away this feels from his character in Euphoria, which actors, more times than not, try to hinge on their most popular role. It's called typecasting. I think the way his character is presented in the film is most accurately summed up as having gentle giant energy, and even if the movie wants us to think otherwise, he just felt genuinely kind. Barry Keoghan is a great actor that I feel like I never see enough of, and that is not the case here. He was creepy, and even if his character was written poorly, that's not his fault. The movie's greatest asset was its editing, which was actually really special. It made the scenes feel more evenly paced, and no shot lingered for too long. There were also some interesting cuts to convey the more gratuitous scenes, but that's about as far as the pros go. The script. Almost anything that has to do with plot or writing in this movie sucks. I'll elaborate. This movie is like eating a cake with the most luxurious and delicious frosting, but as for the cake, you might as well be eating fucking coffee grounds. Because this movie tries so unbelievably hard to be presented in the most trendy and accessible way possible, without doing any of the hard work to feel earned. So let's just do a quick recap of Saltburn's convoluted and aggravating plot. So there's a kid who goes to Oxford College, who seems kind of nerdy and shy, and has sort of a small obsession with this popular rich kid Felix. After they kind of exchange favors and seem to like each other's company, Oliver is shocked when Felix starts neglecting him, going out with other friends at the bar and not inviting Oliver because he's kind of a weird fuck. Oliver goes back to his dorm one night when he sees Felix's girlfriend, who he kind of tells, not to start up drama or anything, but your boyfriend is definitely neglecting you and cheating on you, which may be true, but it's pretty obvious that he's, projecting here. So they hook up, and Oliver ruins it. Then he makes up with Felix, and they seem to have a meaningful conversation, and then Felix invites him to come stay at his mega mansion for the summer, because Oliver is like, I never really had a family that was there for me. And he makes up some pretty bad stories about them too, so Felix obviously feels bad, so he invites him. Then Oliver arrives at Saltburn, and we get introduced to some wacky, weird side characters, and Oliver makes people more and more increasingly uncomfortable, and also And also turns out his parents were actually really, really nice to him, and they're always there for him, which Felix finds out when he takes Oliver back to his house for a visit so that he can make up with his parents, because it sounds like they have a really bad relationship, right? Wrong. So Felix is pretty obviously mad about this and wants Oliver to leave after Oliver's big blowout party, and then Oliver gets really sad and poisons Felix after he neglects him again, and then the family is angry and sad, and Oliver is like, whatever, it's not like we were best friends, and no one questions why he doesn't even try to seem sad. And then several years later, Felix's mom meets Oliver again, and then Oliver kills her too in the end. This seems to be an insanely divisive film, based on the reviews I see on Letterboxd. But even the negative reviews are just like, it had nothing interesting to say, but it had shock value, 6 stars. And that to me just feels like giving up. Is this all we have to do to make something popular and culturally relevant? Shock value? And this brings me back to my first comparison, The Menu. I don't like The Menu. Like I said, it is completely full of itself, and thinks it's saying a lot, but isn't. So why am I comparing this to Saltburn? What does the menu have that Saltburn doesn't, for better or worse? Well, that would be the sense of surprise. Now, both of these movies follow the exact same beats. We are introduced to weird but seemingly kind characters at the beginning, even though we know something is going to go wrong. They then commit the act of violence on rich people, and the main character has an ending monologue that the movie thinks is badass, but really just makes me roll my eyes because of how insanely pretentious it is. But the menu did two things better here. First, the fun. Almost everyone agrees that Saltburn is a fun time, right? No. Saltburn's first scene of extreme violence is shocking because it's really just weird and uncomfortable, and it barely ramps up from that. The menu, however, starts with non-violent acts like putting classified information about the rich people who are eating the food on their tortillas, which makes them uncomfortable, and it does ramp up from there. One of these is shock value for the sake of shock value, and one of these is called building up tension, which is, it's like a little known tactic for filmmaking, only like a few people use it. The second thing that Saltburn does worse is the main character. Oliver makes me uncomfortable. Congratulations, I guess you accomplished what you wanted, but did you? Some films, like Gone Girl for example, have no likable main characters, and they all make me uncomfortable, and yet it is still a great entertaining movie because it has a little bit of contrast with the likable side characters, and also, no matter how horrible these people can be, they have layers and are interesting and have character motivation that is not summed up to one singular monologue. Saltburn, however, has no contrast whatsoever. Everyone is gross and evil in their own way, which just starts to get boring and repetitive like a third of the way into the movie. Also, no one is interesting at all. Oliver's motivations boil down to him being a psychopath, but I guess it's justified because they're rich. Felix just seems like your run-of-the-mill, confident, kind if you don't cross him, popular rich kid, and everyone else is more or less represented by one of these two camps. The menu doesn't. It has a likable main character with layers and flaws, but is intelligent and understanding. And even if the chef of the menu, who is like the villain and basically the Oliver of the menu, is so much more interesting than Oliver, even though he has like 90% less screen time. He has a backstory and over the top but consistent and unique motivations. And Saltburn couldn't even do that with its main character. So I guess that just leaves me with one more thing to say. Saltburn isn't sharp. It isn't fun. And all of its glamorous technical elements serve basically no purpose. This is a bland, snarky, tone-deaf mess that thrives off of unearned shock value and pointless popular filmmaking trends. This is a bad movie, and it makes me pretty disappointed to see what it's become, given what it really is. Thank you guys so much for watching that video. I hope it is a little less divisive than the movie, but I kind of doubt that. Hope it gets some views at all, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't, because I have been gone for a little while now, like half a year. Very sorry about that. I don't know why I did it. I think I just got bored and uninterested, but I have started like 7 scripts recently, and I really enjoy writing them. I enjoy recording now. I'm trying to like kind of switch up my content. I'm trying to find what sticks out about me, and I'm excited for the future. And this will not be my only new video. I promise you that, okay? I might not always hit my deadlines, but I swear to you guys that if you are still here, which I'm surprised if you are, thank you so much. Just thank you for staying, and more is to come in the future. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching that video. I will see you in the next one.